all-pervading personality of Godhead,
I offer my respectable obeisances unto you.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudiraye. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very deep of Christ, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttama-shloke bhakti bhavati naishiki. By regular attendance in the classes of Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to pure devotees, all the obstacles into the heart are most completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose place with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes to the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai. 6:9:22.
We're looking at Canto 6,
Chapter 9,
Verse 22.
What's the verse?
22.
22.
2. Yeah, this one.
Good. All right. 22. Avismitam
Avismitam
tam
tam
paripurna
kamam
svinaiva
lavena
samam prashantam vinopasarpati aparam hi bhalisha swa langulina tithati. Let's try that one again. Let's break that up. Langulena adhitarthi sindham avismitam tam
paripurnakamam
Svinaiva labena samam prashantam vinopasarpatya aparam hibalisha swalangulena tititharthi sandhum
Sarpati aparam hi balisa
Avismitam tam paripurnakamam Savena lavena samam prashantam Vinopasarpati aparishivalisha
Swalangulena titadaliti sindhum
Swalangulena titadaliti sindhum
Avismitam tamam paripurnakamam
Avismitam tam paripurnakamam Vinopasarpati aparam nivalisha
Swalangulena tititarti sindhum
Swalam gulena titarti sindhum Avishmitam tam paripurna kama Avishmitam tam paripurna kama
Svenaiva labhena samam prashantam.
Sveneva labhena samam prashantam Vinopasarpati aparam nivalisha Swalam gulena titarti sindhum
Avismitam,
Avismitam
one who was never struck with wonder.
Who is never struck with wonder
Tam,
Tam,
him. Paripurna kamam,
Paripurna kamam
who is fully satisfied.
Who
Who is fully satisfied
Svena,
Svena,
by his own.
by his own.
Eva,
Eva
indeed.
Indeed.
Lavena,
Bhavena
achievements.
Achievements.
Samam
Equipoise.
Equipoise.
Prashantam,
Prashantam
very steady.
Very steady
Vina,
Vina
without.
Without
Prasarpati,
Prasarpati
approaches.
Approaches.
Aparam,
Another
another.
He,
Indeed.
Indeed.
Alishaha,
Balishaha
a fool. Shwa,
Shwa
of a dog.
Of a dog
Langulena,
Langulena
by the tail.
By the tail
Atitarti,
Atitarti
wants to cross.
Wants to cross
Sindhum,
Sindhum
the sea.
The sea
Let's read this together. Free from all
Material
material
of existence, I
Never
never
been struck by anything The Lord is always jubilant and fully satisfied by His own spiritual perfection. He has no material designations, that therefore He is steady and unattached. That supreme personality of Godhead is the only shelter of everyone. Anyone desiring to be protected by others is certainly a great fool who decides to cross the sea by holding the tail of a dog.
And prayer for advice divine grace, AC Bhakti Swami Prabhupada, and to be listened to. Okay, Hare Krishna. Okay, a dog can,
Swim.
in the
Water.
water.
But
If a dives in the ocean, someone wants to cross the ocean by holding the dog's tail. He is certainly fool number one. A dog cannot
Cross.
leap ocean, nor can a person
cross.
leap
Ocean.
by catching a dog's
Tail.
Similarly, one who desires to cross the ocean of nescience should not seek the shelter of any demigod or anyone else, but the fearless shelter of the Supreme Personality of God. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-58 therefore says, Samaskrita ye vadavam Mahatpadan punya disho marahe Bhavam Vatsa param padam 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 yadvi padam datesha. The Lord's lotus feet are an indestructible boat. And if one takes
Shelter.
shelter of that boat, he can easily
Cross.
the
Ocean.
of
Suffering.
sessions. Consequently, there are no dangers for a devotee, although he lives within this material
World.
which is full of dangers at every step. One should seek the shelter of the all-powerful instead of trying to be
Fight.
Protected.
protected by one's own concocted ideas. But I thank you very much. All of you. Okay, so let's get a little bit of a hold of who's talking here. There's some demigods speaking here. And they've all got the same idea. Otherwise, they wouldn't be saying the same thing. Okay, and their realization is this, that the Lord has no material designation. They're different from themselves, from the demigods. The demigods are semi-gods. They're just not the same level. They are empowered, they're powerful, they're important, they're providers, suppliers. Sometimes they fight with one another, sometimes they fight with the gods, the asuras. So they're pretty active, they've got an active life. They're just making a statement about Krishna. Janma karma chanadityam is the verse that comes to mind from the Bhagavad Gita. And that means that Krishna's birth and Krishna's karma, his activities, are divya, they're divine. They're not like others. Isn't that nice? That there are people not like us. There's only one person not like us, and he has different manifestations, different avatars. Okay, so we shouldn't hold on to mundane circumstances. That would be like holding on to a dog, his tail, if you turn across the water. Have you ever seen dogs? They have a natural pedal. Have you ever seen it before? And they can only go so far, and then they turn around. So they wouldn't be able to get outside of the Toronto Harbor if you they're trying to get into the St. Lawrence River. The whole thing was not possible. It just doesn't work. The tail of a dog. Hiranyakashipu also talks about the tail of a dog. You know how? Well, Prahlad was very fixated on Krishna. Right? That happened before he was born. Narada Muni came and said a few things. He was an informant, a reporter maybe, a journalist, reporter at least, interviewer, you know? Or someone who's delivering a message, delivering, broadcaster. What's the other one? Anchor man. He's an anchor man. And while Prahlad was in the womb of his mother, he talked about the glories of Krishna. He talked about how you're not this body. He talked about how there's a creator, etc., etc. And he retained it. He retained it. So Prahlad got very attached to Krishna. And once his father found out about it, you know, he wanted to actually mold and shape his son, but it was not possible. Prahlad was fixed. Let's put it that way. Prahlad was, he was concreted. Let's put it that way. He got hard. He got hard on Krishna's lotus feet. So, Hiranyakashipu had a hard time convincing his son that you should surrender to me, and I'm the ultimate. And he said something about a dog's tail. Does anybody know what it was?
Do not be straightened.
It cannot be straightened out. You're stubborn. You're crooked, you're curved, whatever. And like trying to straighten out a dog, I cannot straighten you out. You are a lost cause. You are definitely a lost cause. And so that's how the dog's tail appears in the Bhagavatam once again. So curved tail, or let's say somebody who just can't hold up someone. There was a case. Does anybody know John Robbins? He wrote his family, the dynasty that started the Robbins, Baskin Robbins, the ice cream place. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
It's right at the corner of, it's like Christie Kids, is a popular one there. That's right, I don't like too much of the one. The Christie Kids, like go beyond Baskin Robbins, and then they turn back. So, and he wrote a book. It was a diet for a small planet, a diet for the planet Earth. And he was talking about the benevolence of some animals and how they save people's lives. He's talking about some lady from Manila, from the Philippines. She fell into the water and she was drowning, and this sea turtle came. They can be very big. He came to her rescue, and she held on to him. I don't know if it was the tail or where, but she held on to him, his shell, and he saved her life. That's animals. Some animals do that. and can take you across the water. Not too many. I wouldn't try it with one, especially with shark. Yeah. So the Lord has the ability to save, and therefore the quote is there from the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. Samasritya ye padapalavam. Perhaps you brothers have heard this before. Badam badam bavam udir vatsa badam 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 yet vipadam notation. So it's beautiful, isn't it? Really, is anybody going to start a rock band? We should just use this. Badam 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 badam. It's so beautiful. Pada means foot, right? Like padayatra. Also, pedestrian. Pada, pied. In French, it's pied. A lot of French words, like German, and just trying to think of this in Dutch. Can't think of it right now. But the feet are important. So it has something to do with the foot or where you step. And every step you take is going to be a place of danger, and especially in the dark. Let's say you're a little kid, and you jump over a log, and you didn't know that on the other side there's a rattlesnake. If you step on a snake, he'll strike you, he'll dart at you. You stepped in the wrong place. You weren't careful about your footing. And so the real footing is in devotional service, taking shelter of Krishna. And then Krishna will give you liberation. He's known as the deliverer of all souls who surrender to him. When I was walking in Guyana, and it was still quite dark one morning, and you start early because it's hot and humid there. It's the only way to walk in Guyana. And I was with another devotee, and I said, it looks like I have to have my little water break, my bio break, you know what I mean? My little, discharge, go to the powder room, so whatever you call it, okay, go to the WC. Anyways, there wasn't any WC, and anyways, I was just ready to discharge, and it was so dark, and there was a black woman there, what are you doing? I couldn't see it, me and the other person. It was like really pitch dark. So anyways, have you ever in your childhood stepped in the wrong place? Dog poo or whatever other examples can we give?
Actually stepped in a snake.
You stepped on something, you did it right, and you got all riled up. Any other examples of stepping in the wrong places? Legos.
Stepping on the Legos.
And what happened?
It hurts.
It hurt your Lego or? What about you?
I stepped on a dog's tail.
Something like that. Anybody else have experience of stepping in the wrong place? I kind of puzzle. That happens quite often. Or mother.
I missed a step.
You missed a step.
I missed a step on
Tumble
the
down.
staircase. Yeah.
Jack comes ill. To fetch a pail of water. Jack, I was Jack.
And broke his crown and
Jill.
came down over.
So it does happen. We miscalculate steps. There's the one place where the Scarborough devotees at their school, I went up the steps and they're so irregular. Has anybody ever been there? Said, I've never experienced anything like it. They were just they're spaced too far apart or too high or something too narrow. Like you get those kind of places. So we're always looking to get a let's say a very steady footing, and to get very grounded. And has anybody ever been through like an earthquake experience? A tremor?
Minor.
Yeah, minor. What happened?
Only Maharaj, like I was in my hometown, and then it's near Nepal. So it's in a state called Bihar. So I was there, and it was just like being, I was so fearful that everybody came down on the ground, and then it was like fine. But it was very scary. It was really
Yeah.
scary.
We really depend on the earth so much, but if the earth does a shake, you know, it's like her whole foundation is lost. It's a big, eerie feeling. We did have a little tremor here some years ago. There was a building, you were sleeping in the bell tower, in a bed, on the couch. And when that tremor came, he fell off. Yeah. So anyways, it is very unnerving, uncomfortable to be in that kind of situation. So we only want to be on steady ground. That's really what it's all about. That steady ground is in Krishna consciousness. And if we choose to kind of like experiment, float around, and try to find some, you know, chase our own little dreams, fantasies, speculations about life, you know, you can follow them, but you can easily trip and fall. You know? So what's really solid is the message of the Bhagavad. You know, there are two kinds of Bhagavatas. You know? And one is a human being who speaks the Bhagavad and lives it, and the other one is the book itself. So there's the person Bhagavad, and then there's the book Bhagavad, or Bhagavatam, which we spend time on every day. Now I just want to ask your honest opinion. We get together every day, except for 2 days off. All right? And we get together, we look at the Bhagavatam. Does it not ground you? You know, just coming here every morning, you know, in a sort of a U shape, horseshoe shape. Doesn't it ground you, you know, just to go over the different topics? There are 10 subject matters that compose this is comprised of the books, comprised of. And most of us know that it is the ripened fruit of the tree of Vedic knowledge. After Narada Muni had some time with Vyasadeva, you know, presented his masterpiece, and that's the Bhagavatam. We spend time on this. We spend time with the Bhagavad Gita. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if he was speaking in a scholarly way with anybody, such as, like, say, Ramana or anybody else like that, he would always quote from Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. So if you're wondering why Prabhupada translated those books, that's one of the good reasons for that. And the Gaudiya Mata Vaishnavas, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas in general, actually, just in general, people from that part of India, they hold to high esteem these books. Of course, in a place like Bengal, people worship Durga, the goddess. You know, we had a very good friend of ours. I was just trying to think his name. He was a scholar at McMaster University. He loved the devotees. He had the largest class in the whole campus, 600 people. We go to an auditorium, 600 people, and you know what the course was called? It was called cults. Cults, and that's why people joined it. You know, like everybody's interested, what about the cults, the sinister cults? The people who are kind of like zombied into one way of thinking. So we've been accused of that in the past, and we would get invited, and you know what he said? I'm just trying to think of his name. Oh, it'll come. So probably after you all leave, then I'll remember. David. Something. Anyways, he wrote a book. He wrote a book about the flute and the sword. That's what he called it. And, you know, religious scholars, theologians like himself, they write books, they write articles on religious practices and religious beliefs. So he decided to write about Bengali culture, the sword and the flute. You get it? The sword is the goddess Durga, Kali, and then the flute is Krishna. So there, in Bengal, there's lots of Kali Puja going on. That's a really big deal in Bengal. It's kind of more than Janmashtami in many ways, right? In Bengal, you know. So Srila Prabhupada ended up in the line of the Krishna, Krishna Sampradaya, you can say. And we decided to join him, so we inherited his culture, which is to put emphasis on Krishna. So the other day when I was in Huntsville, one man came to me, Hare Krishna, we're not Rama. I said, well, we do say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Ram.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I pointed out that there's an image of Rama in the back of the mandir, and then I also explained that you see there's no manifestation of God that has taken the time to explain the science of life, isn't it? Nobody has done it. Ram did not do it, Narasimha did not do it. Any of the other avatars that are recognized, Parashuram, did not do it. In fact, he with an axe, he's the famous axe man. But it was Krishna who took the time for our benefit. Arjuna was already enlightened. Arjuna was like a conduit. He was a channel for the message to be delivered to the common man, common woman, which is us. We're pretty common, aren't we? We're commoners. We're normal. We are conditioned souls. We need to hear some things that will uplift us. So I told this gentleman, I said, well, it's Krishna who did that. Rama didn't do it. I'm not discrediting Ram, I said, but it's Krishna who did it, and that's why we put him on a great pedestal, because he is the one that has delivered the message of the Bhagavad Gita, which is to everyone's, benevolence. Anybody who's a recipient of the message of the Gita, the song of God, is getting Krishna's mercy. So we have what's called the disciplic succession. Okay. We'd have to be saffron people. I don't know who that relates to here, but okay, Prabhupada, Bhakti, Siddhanta, Bishop, Bhakti, but Marga, and then it goes all the way up there to Radha Krishna. Okay, so thank you for bringing that to our notice. So let's go back to stepping. Stepping is really important. Step up. We use that term all the time. Step up. Watch where what do they say? Fools rush in where angels dare to tread or fear to tread. Okay, so be an angel. That is, don't go into the nasty forest, the jungle, where you might get eaten. Has anybody ever seen The Wizard of Oz before? How many people have seen The Wizard of Oz? How many people have not? You don't know what you're missing. It's magical, isn't it? Yeah, so there's the Cowardly Lion. A lot of people, they talk about this story. There's Dorothy, she's lost with a little dog Toto, and first of all, she gets hit in the head by a window in Kansas. There's like a tornado that comes in, that's tornado country, and then the tornado takes the thing out of the air, and then she went. So she ends up somewhere in the land of Oz, nothing to do with Australia. So she meets all these people. She wants to go to Oz because Oz, who's a wizard, will bring her back home, back to Kansas. And she meets different people along the way. First of all, it's a scarecrow who's supposed to be intelligent, and devotees compare the stories like supposed to be the Brahman. And then he meets she meets the Tin Man, and he's supposed to represent probably I'm not trying to think about that one a little bit. And then finally she meets the lion. He's a cowardly lion. And he's scared of his own shadow. And he's easily intimidated. So there's one scene in there. They come through the forest, and they have these signage. This way You go this way or you go that way. And another side of the bottom says, I'd turn back if I were you. Right? So the line says, that's what I'm going to do. And, you know, instead of going to the land of Oz and get benedictions, they thought, let us, he was too cowardly. He didn't want to deal with fear. So the story is that there's no place like home. That's Dorothy's song. Does anybody know the song? Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I've heard of once in a lullaby. And of course that's supposed to be Vrindavan, okay, when we interpret it our way, right? And that's where we're supposed to go. And that should be your only real wish. Let me go back home, back to Godhead. So some people say, there's no place like home, and some people say there's no place like home. Okay? Home. Sometimes the devotees say, Maharaj, please come. We're having breakfast. We're having omelets. And I say, are you actually? But if there's no eggs in omelets, then you're offering it to Krishna. Is that, yeah. They say yes. I said, well, why don't you call it the omelet then? An omelet. And so we have, we just want to stand on solid ground. That's all we want, you know. And that solid ground is only in Krishnaloka, where Krishna resides, you know. When we hear about Krishna's abode, it seems quite dreamy, you know, and almost abstract. Would you not admit? But then when you go through like a forest like we did this morning, how many people live through the forest? The ravine. Now, didn't it have a wonderful feeling there? Wasn't it quite nice? Like you're in the spiritual world. It gives you a little bit of a taste of what it could be like, you know. To be honest with you, it's better than Vrindavan, you know. It looks better than Vrindavan, you know. It's got this ravine, a creek where there's no creeks. And maybe the Yamuna, which needs some cleaning up. There's a lot of smells, there's a lot of garbage, a lot of plastics. I feel very bad when I go to Vrindavan. It's just not being looked after. It's just not being so much noise and so on like that. So if it ever goes to pot, if I can use that term, then we have examples in this world, in our own country, where it's just like, so it's like peaceful. It's like being in Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha means the place without worry, without misery. Right? And that's where we all want to go. Isn't it? We keep saying back to home, back to Godhead. Back to God's head, and back to God's feet. Right? Because everything starts with the feet. Right? The Srimad Bhagavatam, the first canto, and the second, they are supposed to be a reflection of meditation on the Lord's feet ankles like that. And then as you progress in your reading and your studies of the Bhagavatam, eventually you rise up to the point of the face of the Lord. Right? But we start with the first and second cantos. Actually, Prabhupada invested a lot of time in the first and second cantos. So you'll find that those purports are really deep there. Just mind-blowing. If I could use that term, mind-blowing. Honestly, the words he's chosen, you know, it says this is deep stuff, you know. And we want to be deep. We want to be deep in devotional service. We want to go deep into the ocean where you find species that have never been seen before. They keep coming out with new. We always hear about extinction, but then there's new species that keep coming up since we've never photographed or videoed anything like this before. Like it's a new discovery. So let's go down deep into the depths of Krishna's lotus feet. And King Kulashekar, who was a South Indian king, he was saying, let my mind be entangled in the meshes of your lotus feet. I want, like a swan, The swan has this beautiful curvy neck. You've seen it before. And it likes to go into a lake where there's still water. Swans don't like wavy. They like where it's calm. And have you ever gone to Stratford? You'll see swans there. And there's a lake. What's the name of the lake? Help me, help me. Oh, Avon River. The Avon River. So the swans, they like to go where there's some like, there's weeds, you know. There's like, and they like to get necks entangled like this. They, you know, it's like a massage. They like it. Has anybody had a massage before?
Yeah.
How many people like massages? How many people like massage? You don't like massage? You're so not sure? you were like this. Not sure. So everyone likes massage, you know, and whether it's by the neck or the legs or anywhere, and Prabhupada loved massage, kept it going for an extra longer time. But the swan loves to get his neck entangled in the meshes, and he likes to get a little entangled and get free after some time. You know? And so King Kulusha was saying, let my mind now that I'm entangled at your lotus feet, let me now be taken by you. Deliver me now. It said some additional things he said, because in the future, I might not be able to chant your name. I'll be too old. Everything will get rough here. I might not be able to speak. So now that I can speak, now that I can think of you, you know, and be caught up in your lotus feet, take me now. Take me now. Good. So those are some points we want to discuss on what the demigods have to say. Any comments, Prabhu's questions? We have 10 minutes. Yes.
And in the translation it says the water of material ocean is like a calf's footprint. What does that mean?
Yeah, the vatsa. Well, what happens is when you take to the process of Krishna consciousness, you know, you still have to struggle, and you have to struggle with the material world, which is compared to an ocean, and oceans are vast. So if you actually make that strong endeavor and show a lot of integrity in your devotion, that big ocean will start to shrink down to the size of water in a capsule. And then you can easily cross over it. You know, sometimes, you know, this is more for the boys, but we want to know, you know, there's different sizes of shikas. You have a shika, right? Can you show us that one? Yeah. So do you want to turn around and just, you can be our model for that. Okay. So usually they say that the shika should be the size of a cat's footprint. So that's something to remember. Okay? So a calf is also auspicious, and if a calf has, you know, kind of like steps somewhere in the mud, you know, there's a fresh rainfall. The water that's contained in that calf's footprint, which is a little bit like that, that's what the ocean has become. It's shrunk. So the more you are sincere with your bhakti, the more that ocean will get smaller. Has anybody ever been to the Bay of Fundy?
Yeah.
We've been there. The Bay of Fundy, you saw it. Not like New Brunswick and Nova Scotia.
Oh.
There's a high tide of both there. You've been there because you're south. Okay, and didn't you live there? Someone's there.
We used to live near here.
And so there's these incredible sort of like rock formations that people want to explore. So if you go at the right time of the day, it's fantastic. It's beautiful. You get it around the rocks and you walk, you know, which is really the bottom of the ocean. So, but when the high tide comes in, you gotta get out of there fast. It comes in rushing, you know. So, the ocean can expand and contract through these, the dynamics of the high and low tide. So anyways, that's the way it is sometimes. You just have to get to the bottom of the ocean. And, if there are little puddles, you can jump over. As a kid, you jump over puddles, you see. And the puddle, did we all do that? Puddles, and see if you can cross over without getting wet. Right? It's a little test. Oh, childhood was so much fun, wasn't it? That makes adulthood seem like dull, wouldn't you say? Right. So, did we answer your question?
Oh, yes, Maharaj.
Okay.
Then the analogy of the dog is, what is the analogy?
Well, the one that was given by Gareth, which
Oh,
means the tail is curved. If you try to straighten it, it won't happen. So Prahlad's mind was like, he was focused on Krishna. He could not be brainwashed. And the point is that any refuge that you take or shelter in the material world will not have much impact. Like grabbing onto the tail of a dog. They'll probably go under with you. There's not much strength there. Would be very annoying, probably. Anything else, please? Okay, then, what did we learn today?
I have a question before we go
Oh,
on.
yeah.
It's, the translation says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the only shelter of everyone. And this is emphasized in Prabhupada's teachings everywhere, in almost every book you'll find this. But at the same time, the books from other religion or other faith, they emphasize something similar. Like we were on Harinam and there were some Christian preachers as well.
Where was that?
Ottawa. So, and they showed something which was from the Bible that said, I'm the only way to go back to God, or something like that. And that
Oh, the
makes,
Christian saying, I
yeah,
am the way, the truth, and the life. No one cometh unto the Father but through me.
right, yeah, that was the statement. So how do we understand this? Because I didn't have any response to that.
Oh, yes, well, when they're sold out like that, you can't talk to them. There's no point. That's my experience. But basically, we want to say that's the guru principle. You follow the guru. You don't listen to other people who offer different ways of lifestyles. You follow the guru. You follow that principle. God gave that to us, the Heavenly Father. The Heavenly Father to us is Krishna, right? So, that is like a black and white statement. And the way I would just try to explain it is that it means that it would be something like this, just like you're married, right? And, you're, the only man for you is right? There's only one person. There are lots of other cute guys out there, but there's only one for you. That kind of commitment, that's what I explain. But it's very hard to convince them. They don't want to hear anything from anybody else. It's very, very streamlined, one way of thinking, very tunnel vision, I'd say. So if Jesus was here today and he was to say something like that, I can hear Prabhupada saying, please don't listen to this guy, don't listen to all these different philosophers, when Prabhupada was around, those fellows who prescribed to taking drugs and everything, who are they now? I can't remember their names. But, don't listen to these people. Listen to me. Listen to me. I can teach you love of God. And that's what Jesus was doing, teaching love for the Father in heaven. There's not much you can do about it, I'll be honest with you. You're just kind of stuck in the mud. There's no openness. But Prabhupada was openness, and he said we accept Jesus as as a guru, we accept, other ways to loving God. But really, there is one way only. It's about loving. It's serving. Serving means love. Love means serving. Something one way. Kalona Steva Nasteva Nasteva. We chant the names of the Lord. There's no other way, no other way, no other way. It's unfortunate if you have that mindset. Then if you say Jesus, what about Buddha? Oh no. They'll just react like, what about Krishna? No. Well, like everybody, they'll just say no to everybody. Straight everybody. Lost cause. So it's really, we want to be careful not to develop that kind of mentality, that kind of rigid, kind of like, again, black and white kind of spirit. It's really interesting. So thank you. Anything else, Bruce? We have a minute and a half. Okay, what did we learn today?
Even the earth doesn't remain steady, it's only Krishna.
Right, okay, yes. Yeah, the earth can be very shaky. But can't rely on anything practically. Good. What else did we learn today? What did we write down?
I wrote like the quote that Michelle from gave
Oh, yes.
Swan of my mind, let the swan of my mind enter the network of stem of the lotus feet.
Yes, beautiful. Yep, he was very poetical. What about?
I want to bring down that there is no worry that disease.
Okay, that's good.
How dog's tail cannot be straightened, it's curved and represents like stubbornness.
Right, exactly.
I also saw the dog's tail, catching a dog's tail to be like analogy of bogus gurus that they will tell you philosophy and but you
Yeah.
have to have a boat,
Yeah,
which would be taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord.
you'll send down. Titanic. Yes,
That the goal should be Vaikuntha and not something material.
very good. Bravo.
What we know is attached to Krishna is always in the material.
Should we attach to
Krishna.
Okay, great.
I like the point that Jagadatma made, and that he said that Prahlad Maharaj could not be brainwashed. That I think that gives every devotee a goal to be like that.
Nice.
To get out of the material, we should not take like protection or shelter from any other people like who are like doctors to cross the ocean. We should take the shelter of Krishna.
Okay. Very good.
I liked how you gave the analogy of feet, pedestrian and all the other words, so how to think of the Lord's feet of Shri Krishna. And when we say Godhead, to think of the feet going up to the Lord's feet of the Lord. So thank you for that one.
Yes. Where's the Prabhupada?
I like the fact that Krishna is so merciful that he can shrink the ocean of material suffering into the size of a cow's footprint.
Yes, that's right. That's good.
One should seek the shelter of the all-powerful instead of trying to be protected by one's own concocted ideas.
Okay, good.
Yeah, one should not desire to be protected by any other demigods. Like it is like getting protection, like crossing the ocean by holding the tail of the dog. So we should take shelter of Krishna only.
Nice. No? No to Maya.
Yeah, if you trust Krishna, like even the ocean will become a small pot of water where you can easily cross. Reduce, shrink.
Good, Nityananda.
One should be stubborn and hold the feet of Krishna.
Stubborn with Maya,
Stubborn.
right? Go over there.
Person bhavat and spiritual bhavat. So being
Say it again.
person bhavat and spiritual bhavat.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Being that person.
Okay, is that okay? Dharma?
No, yeah.
Hare Krishna.